when I had to leave the county that I live in to get better, and all my friends were still here and they were dying, and like we didn't know about recovery up here. So I figured I wasn't coming home because I was afraid, but I wanted to be down there and I wanted to recover loud enough that they'd hear me from up here and they'd start getting better. And even though I lost a bunch of friends also got into recovery. So, you know, the benefits are obvious to me. The need to recover loud is obvious to me, and to help fight stigma.
That's another thing I'd love to. I wish we could do away with the stigma.
Yeah, we got to fight
it. I think the people are more accepting than they were a few years ago. But there's still a big stigma that
Yeah, and one of the reasons I'm happy to go to Massachusetts right now, because in Maine we're pretty progressive with the laws, and we don't know what it's like in other places. So to find out in Texas that they didn't have the fentanyl test strips legalized until a couple of years ago, to me, that's ridiculous. But those are the things other people are fighting with.
Hey, everybody, I'm Richie, and I recover loud.
Voices echo in 1,000 ways. We rise up, breaking chains of the past. With courage and strength, we're free at last. Shout it out, let the world know. Together we rise, we won't be slow. Recover loud, let your voice ring clear. Together we stand, no more hiding in fear. With every success, our stories ignite. We celebrate life, we're ready to fight. Each story told, a beacon of light. Through the valleys we ignite the fight. Hand in hand we'll chase away the fear. In this journey of hope we'll persevere. Hear the cries, the laughter, the pain. In our unity we'll break every chain. Recover loud, let your voice ring clear. Together we stand, no more hiding in fear. With every success, our stories ignite. We celebrate life, we're ready to fight. Hear the cries, the laughter, the pain. In our unity we'll break every chain. Recover loud, let your voice ring clear. Together we stand, no more hiding in fear. With every success, our stories ignite. We celebrate life, we're ready to fight. Ready to fight. Oh, ready to fight. Let the world witness what we found. In recovery's light, we'll always be proud. Let the world witness what we found. In recovery's light, we'll always be proud.
Hey, Richie, and where are you from?
South Plymouth, Mass, Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
Have you lived there your whole life?
No, I grew up in Taunton. I was always, ever since I was a young kid, I was on the Cape, though. And then I moved down in my mid-20s. I have been in recovery since December 2010.
So what was life like for Richie Newbert back then?
Kind of chaotic. Feeling of insecurity, never good enough, always better than, just never fit in.
Yeah.
Insecure, I guess is the word. And when I discovered alcohol and drugs, it did what it was supposed to. Instantly, I felt like I was somebody.
So what age did you start using?
When I started drinking, high school, weekend keg parties, but not, I don't think seriously until late teens. probably early 20s.
Did it get bad enough that you ever lost your license or went to
Yep.
prison or jail? Any of that?
Lost my license,
Okay.
went to jail.
Yeah. What else might you have lost due to your addictions?
Myself, marriage, I mean, the respect of my kids,
Mhm.
everything. I don't know how to lost it.
Yeah. So you were married before the wife you have now.
Yep.
Did she use with you, or were you using by
No.
yourself?
No,
Yeah.
with friends, other couple of friends that we had,
Okay.
drinking. Drugs were never part of my my
Okay.
story.
Okay.
I did drugs when I was drinking. I try them, but they were not. But alcohol was always my go-to. And
What have you done for work?
I grew up when I worked for the state for 26 years.
Oh yeah, doing what?
I supervised a group home for DMR.
Okay.
At the time when I hit my jackpots, I was also a volunteer Mountie. I rode the Mounted Patrol in Boston. I was a Lawrence student. My goals were to go to Florida to work in the sheriff's department to be a rescue diver, and then eventually work for the DEA.
So how far did you go on that path towards doing all that?
I mean, after the DUIs, I thought it was kind of pointless. So
Okay.
I retired, but I still wasn't ready to admit I had a problem. So after I retired, I worked a bunch of jobs at Walmart, other ones, and just never found that. I was still searching for myself.
Yeah.
That I still had that insecurity. Some of the successes I had in my life was swimming. When I was younger, I was on the swim team, and I had the potential to go to the Junior Olympics and have a scholarship.
Mhm.
And that was mostly the only time that I felt comfortable in myself, my own skin.
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward, after I retired, I got back to, I got away from swimming and, whatever I was doing. And I started coming to the Y. Started swimming again, started doing the physical activities. Still drinking, still wasn't ready to do, but I spent a lot of time here. And when the times I was here, I felt good. And one of the coaches said, "Why don't you get a job? You spend so much time here." And so I got a job here. I got serious about what I was doing. I went to AA. I went to a bunch of AA, but I didn't do the steps, and I still didn't feel it. Like I went to AA, even though I knew I shouldn't. I went to AA, I didn't drink. And I was like, well, there must be something here. But I was going more, I was looking for the friendship like that I had, for that insecurities that I had growing up. But anyway, I made a point, I'm not going to drink, whatever it took, I was willing to do. So I went to AA meetings, and then when I started getting my feelings back,
Oh yeah, that's rough.
I started going, somebody said, once you get sober for 10 years, it sucks. I was like, what, this, you're going to get your feelings back on. But I started going back to nature and really, working on myself and doing the things that I was supposed to. And what I discovered is I felt good again, like that when I first started drinking, when I started coming back out in nature and doing the walks and living healthy. That's where I started my nonprofits. I'm like, you know what? There's other people. There was like people I'd meet, and I still have a lot of friends that are in AA. AA is their way, and I think there's many pathways to recover. And what I discovered is coming in nature and hanging around positive people is what worked for me. So I started a nonprofit, saying there must be somebody else maybe that thinks like the way I do.
After you started going to AA and stuff, did you go back to using, or have you been sober since you started there?
When I said to myself, I'm not going to do it anymore, I haven't had the urge to drink or anything again. Still have shitty days, and I still have the feelings of insecurity, but I just feel like I'm a part of now.
It's important, I think, for us to point out that getting sober doesn't solve our problems.
No, no, it's life still comes at you, and
Oh yeah, and we're still insecure. We still, don't get our bills paid on time. We still, get cars repossessed, get divorced, all those things still happen to us. We just deal with it better. And we're in a better position to accept those things and go forward in a healthy way. So tell us more about the nonprofit. What's it
Okay.
called?
Richie's Road to Recovery.
Okay.
What it is I simply on Friday mornings, there's a nature preserve right down by my house.
Mhm.
That's what part of where I got sober, and I used to just go to walk and meditate. So I do a weekly walk there.
Yeah.
And people talk about anything they want.
You have a
Okay.
Facebook group?
I do. Richie's Road to Recovery, Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, so if anybody wants to join the group, they can find you at Richie's
Yep.
Road to Recovery.
I also have a YouTube channel, Richie's Road to Recovery.
Okay. So are you doing one video a week? Is that
I do one walk a week. I don't always make a video.
okay?
I try to do a weekly video just to
Yeah.
give some inspiration, relate somebody might be going through what I am.
And I found the same thing. All summer long I've been kayaking the rivers up here and sharing videos and, getting back to nature and seeing the beauty and everything. I didn't see that stuff before. I was always going too fast. I had to get somewhere to get what I needed to do what I needed to do. And then there was something else that had to be done, so I never stopped to smell the roses, so that's that's how my recovery looks, getting out in nature. I share a lot of videos myself on YouTube, nature videos and it's just, that's where the beauty is, away from the stress. And, that's how I de-stress these days. I'm not just going to numb out and forget about the world. I'm just going to go out, on the river and, enjoy the peace for a few hours a day, during that day.
And I think it's almost like it enhances, like what recovery enhances nature. And the nature only allows you to slow down. But I think being in recovery, like that's how I was before. I could never sit with self.
Right.
There was always someplace I had to be, someplace I had to go. Where, I don't know, but there was so I had to do big things.
Right.
So like now in recovery, it's like like I said, life happens. I still argue with my wife. I still have probably more financial responsibilities than I ever had before. But I can sit in nature and say, okay, life is going to be okay, and take a step forward and figure out how I'm going to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not chasing all the that was back when my active drinking days. I always had to have somebody with me, always seeking that approval. And now I still like it. I mean, if I'll go out of my way to make a friend, but if I'm okay with self now, and being alone sometimes is good.
When you're walking out in the woods, are you normally by yourself, or do you have your wife with you? Or
I have a couple people that'll show up regularly. Sometimes it'll be a small group. Sometimes it'll be just me.
Is it always at that same place on the Cape? Living up in northern Maine, it's pretty great because we have mountain trails, we have trails through the woods, the rivers to kayak down. So I'm always bouncing around and going to different places.
Sometimes I do a meditative walk. It depends on the group I'm leading. Okay. Sometimes some people just want to walk and not talk about anything. There's been sometimes somebody say, "Can we hug a tree?" Absolutely,
Did you actually file and get the 501c3 status?
I'm not a 501c status yet, so I don't accept donations or anything. Okay. I filed the paperwork, I'm recognized by the state as a nonprofit. I do work with my wife, and we'd like to expand. And so that's like the next thing, because we wanted to do family events, get donations and everything eventually. But right now it's just a nature walk, and that's where it's led me.
Because my group, I kind of run it as a recovery center. Do you guys have recovery centers in Mass?
Yes, we have some, and that's another thing. Part of my story is a belief in God, and staying connected with my church. I approached them because we don't have, up in Boston, on Cape, they have a few recovery centers, but in this area, there's no drop-in centers.
Okay.
Recovery centers, we have AA meetings, and that was another thing. I was like, oh, I'd like to take my church, and we talked about doing like a recovery center, almost, and having like a garden, something we can give back to the community. It's still, a lot of ifs and whats, and my church gave me the okay. I have to come up with a more concrete plan. Obviously it's, I have all, the grandiose ideas that I'm going to change the world, but it's yes. So I guess what I would say is yes, being in nature, working here at the Y, and being involved in my church is what's my 3 paths that led me and kept me in recovery.
So you're still working at the Y?
Yes. And I've got promotions. This is a job I love, and I wouldn't have this job if it wasn't in recovery.
Are you still coaching swimming?
I am. I just recently become a U.S. Masters swim coach.
Oh, how many kids are you coaching?
Masters is an adult. It's an adult.
Okay.
It's typically like former college triathletes, people going for triathlons.
Wow.
I still teach kids swimming lessons. I'm a swim instructor. But as far as coaching, it's an adult.
Wow. So how long have you been there at the Y?
Since 2010. 2009. I'm sorry, I was here 1 year. I started in March, April 2009.
That's a big credit to recovery too. Is we tend to stay in one place longer. We don't get antsy. And it's not getting complacent necessarily because you're advancing, you're getting promotions. But you're consistent. You're showing up, you're doing the things you love. A lot of the people I know in recovery, they're working in careers that they love, that they enjoy. Things that they've always wanted to do and they couldn't do because they were being blocked by their substance. I was just speaking to a girl last night who, she said she's been sober for 6 months now and she's getting bored, and she doesn't know what to do with her time. And I suggested that she figure out what it is that she really always wanted to do and couldn't do before, and then try to work towards that. And she said, yeah, but there's so many other things going on. And I said, well, if you can find some things that are going to lead you in that direction, say yes to those and say no to everything else. If anything's going to take you away from that, leave it for somebody else. Because I know when I first got into recovery, opportunities, they were coming at me from every direction and I couldn't say no to anything. So what happened was, I wasn't able to show up for everything. And then I realized that not all opportunities that come to me are necessarily for me. So if I can connect other people to those opportunities, that's also helping.
My relationships have improved. The relationship now I have a true, I guess.
That's a good point.
My attitude, I guess, has improved. And not only am I'm not seeking other people's approval, maybe. Like it's okay to say no every once in a while. Before, like when I was that, I'd say yes to everything with no, could never follow it up. I'd say yes to 1,000 things. Recovery, we want to be service to anybody we can be. But I know what my limit is and when I do need to say no.
You said you went ahead and you took the classes to become a recovery coach?
Yep. I took, so CCAR, what it was, is CCAR offers I think it was like a 5-day recovery coach class. But I went through Cape Cod Community, which it was a grant.
Okay.
And you had to be interviewed for the grant, and you told them what you wanted to do, and I had told them about nature and the things I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So they paid for me to go to school. So I took the CCAR. I guess is at the core, like Cape Cod Community College where I went through. There was a bunch of I don't know if I call them electives, but other courses you had to take. So I completed the CCAR, and then I went through the class, did the Cape Cod stuff, and then to actually, and I got I don't know if it's a certification or I guess I think saying, you've completed all the classes at CCAR.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to do 40 hours of supervised work under a recovery coach.
Okay.
But COVID hit
Mhm.
and everything shut down. And then just when I got back to work, I got busy. And when I went back and talked to the professors at community college, and they're like, for what you really want to do, they said, for your nature recovery nonprofit, they're like, it's not necessary, to do your 40 hours. And they says, and however, they said, if you still want to go into that field, go, and then you can always come back and just work under a supervised coach.
Yeah.
So there's a few people I've talked to that said, yeah, if you ever need, come see me. But I just.
Yeah. My recovery date is November 3rd, 2018. And, then I was finally able to settle down and move home in 2020. And then that's when I was actually convinced. I'd started my Facebook group, Recovery on the Road, in June. And then my Suboxone clinic that I go to, the doctor said, have you gotten your recovery coach certificate yet? And I said, no. He said, well, why haven't you taken the class? I said, okay, I'll take the class. So I took the class.
Yep.
And then a month later, I was working on an island doing landscaping work, making $25, $30 an hour, doing really well. And the doctor said again, he said, so have you applied for any recovery coaching jobs? I said, no. Well, why haven't you? I was like, well, I can look for them. Of course, it's a big pay cut from what I was doing, but the season was over. Here, fall's coming, winter's coming. There's not going to be any landscaping work. So I said, sure. And so he ended up offering me a job, and I ended up working for that doctor in the program that I had been going to for years. And thankfully, I was able to stay there for a year. I got all the hours I needed.
Because it wasn't real regulated a few years ago. It was could almost say I'm a recovery coach.
Yeah.
But I think it's like $500 to actual licensing, I guess is what.
Yeah.
So the certification and this licensing, if I'm saying it right.
Yeah. So you can become a licensed recovery coach and then get certified after that.
No.
In Maine, and it might be different in Massachusetts. In Maine, you and it's changed actually since I did it. You take that certification class, you get the certification.
Yep.
You're not certified. And people used to say, I'm a certified recovery coach. And then other people would get upset. Like, no, you're not. So then there was a couple more classes to take. The ethics class.
Yep, I had to take ethics.
And then after the ethics class, you could apply for registration and be on the registry. And then from there, you get your 500 hours and your 25 hours supervision. And then you could become certified. And plus one more class, coach revision. And I was one of, within the first 5 certified recovery coaches here in Maine. And that was just, because I took a suggestion from somebody else and followed through. And I did the thing, and at the same time, I started going back to college. And in last November, I celebrated my 5 years in recovery. And 2 days later, I graduated from college with the bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So, thank you. But it was just always just wanting to do more, not being happy sitting still, working towards, making my life better by making my career better by helping more people, so I like that you took the class, knowing that you weren't going to go get a job doing it. You just wanted to be able to help people.
Like I said, the idea, I'm getting older now. There's a couple of things I still wanted to do with it as a recovery coach, a person in long-term recovery. I'm trying to I wanted to actually I don't know what the word is, develop a course, so kind of like a recovery, so holistic is kind of that's what I put on my thing, but it's like a 3-step: holistic, physical, spiritual, mental.
Okay.
Like I'd like to develop a program so that my original plan with the recovery work was have people go out on walks. And that was something like, how we want to give back.
Mm-hmm.
That was like always somebody says, why don't you just put a can down, and ask for donations or like charge for your walk? And I was like, the walk is that's what keeps me sober. That's kind of
Right.
like what I want to give back. I said, so I'd like to do that and then add a physical thing, like, the swimming, and then maybe develop, market that program. If that's, I don't know the word market. Like I said, I got these big ideas, but then life gets busy, and I was like, sometimes I'm like, just do the recovery walk. That's where you're good at. That's where you help people, get people come to the Y swim.
Because I live in northern Maine, and the resources aren't here. We've got plenty of trails and rivers and streams and stuff like that, but we don't have programs of recovery.
We don't have a lot down here. There's some on Cape.
Yeah.
But southeastern Mass is that's where I decided that's an area where there's a need, and that's where like my church, we have AA meetings, we have NA meetings, but nothing other in recovery. Nothing like what I'm doing.
It brought me back to when I was a kid. My grandfather we had a camp on the Cape, and that was our big trip in the summertime. To go to the Cape and stay there for a week or so, and. He's actually a veteran. He's buried at the veteran cemetery out there.
Bourne?
What's that?
Bourne?
Yes. Yep, that's the one. I couldn't remember the name of it.
It's a mile from my house.
Oh, is it really?
Yep.
And when I was in school, he bought me, I wanted to be in the band. And, I wanted to play trumpet. And trumpets were $300 and something. And my parents couldn't afford it. So my grandfather bought me my first one. And he used to walk around and he'd say, better practice taps because at my funeral, I want you to play. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I did. And, when he passed away, I did play taps at his funeral. And I went out there to Bourne Cemetery and I stood up on the hill and, got to play. And my emotions got the best of me there. But at the funeral home, it was probably the best I'd ever played it. And, I was actually pretty honored to do that. But to be at the Veterans Cemetery, it was a little overwhelming.
Okay.
So thanks, Richie. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. And we'll talk
We'll
some
be
more.
in touch.
Sitting in that jail cell, that heavy steel door slammed, cutting me off from all the hopes and dreams that I had for my life. Yet it was in these moments, where self-reflection mixed with regret, that I began to see the possibilities that lay ahead. Possibilities that never before seemed so quite out of reach, yet something inside told me I must keep going. I'm Mike Paddleford, and my story isn't that unique. It echoes the struggles of many who have grappled with addiction and the seemingly insurmountable barriers to recovery. Yet it also echoes a capacity for change and the transformative power of hope. On November 3rd, 2018, I made the decision that this is going to be my recovery journey. That one decision demonstrated the power that one choice can have over our lives and the lives of those around us. That one decision showed me how normal it is for all of us to struggle with something in our lives. That one decision provided me with so much hope for living a better tomorrow that I'm excited to share with the world. Recover loud, everyone.
Recover